All right, on the previous video, I showed you how to create a Web Center test environment with version 18.0.1. Today, we're going to look at upgrading that test system to 18.1, as well as upgrading our automation engine to 18.1 as well. So once again, this is going to be a test system. So the procedures that I'm going to go through are what I'm going to need to get this system running. It may or may not be different for your own. I don't recommend this for a production environment. All right, so the first thing we're going to do here is currently I'm logged into Web Center right now. You can see this is a live running system, and our version on the bottom is 18.1. The first thing that I want to do here is, if you haven't already, do a Windows update and reboot your system. Depending on the last time you rebooted your system with updates, this may take quite some time. With 18.1, your system requirements may have changed, so be sure to check the support.esko.com page and validate your system requirements, as well as the database that your Web Center is currently running on, as that may have changed. I'm still using SQL Server 2012, which is from the previous installer. So I'm going to stick with that for today, but be sure to check out the next video on how to upgrade your SQL Server. So the first thing I'm going to do here is we're going to want to back up all the components of our system. So I've already gone ahead and done this, but I'll walk you through some of the components. So I'm going to back up our Web Center database. So you should have SQL Server Manager installed. I'm going to launch this and log in with my system administrator user. I'll connect to the database, and here I have Web Center 4_0. I just right click on this, and under tasks I can click backup. I want to do a backup type full, and I'm going to backup component database. I can choose what the name of this database is going to be, as well as the destination. So I have already done this, and I have it stored in my folder. I do recommend that you have some kind of automated backup system enabled. This is just simply a manual procedure. The next thing you're going to want to do is, if you don't have your file store backed up to another location, you're going to want to back that up as well. Once again, I recommend a form of an automated solution. And then we are going to want to back up our application server and web server folder. So that is going to be in your Esko Artios Web Center folder, and then I have application server and web server. Now remember, this is a test system, so everything is all on one system. On a production system or a larger scale test environment, you may have a separate application server and a separate web server. Make sure you copy both of these folders. Do not do a move. You want to copy these as a backup. So I already have both of these backed up to a folder. I do recommend either backing up to a separate drive or a shared network folder. And then you're going to want to also back up your automation engine system, or OBGE, as well. So that can be done through the server administrator tool for automation engine. Once you've backed up your Web Center database, your file store, your application server, web server, we can begin to start the upgrade. So I have my Web Center 18.1 installer already downloaded, and I'm going to navigate into this ISO image to the setup file and run as administrator. Click Start, click Software Installation on the left, and I'm going to click the Upgrade panel. Now these instructions are pretty good, so I do recommend you follow them. I may do things in a little bit different order than the instructions say, but overall, all the steps are still being followed. So as I mentioned, you do want to check your software and hardware requirements. The number one thing I typically see is that a lot of people's C drives are actually very full. a good best practice would be to separate your C drive, so your system applications for Windows, as well as your Esko applications to like a D or an E drive. 15 gigs free, so we should be good for this upgrade. But if you're noticing your system is running very slow, you do want to check that out. I will come in and I'm going to open up my task manager and go into my services, and I'm going to stop all my WebCenter components. So I'm going to stop the BGMD, which is automation engine. That one's already stopped. And I'm going to come down to WebCenter and I'll stop CADX, stop JBoss, and stop Tomcat as well. So while these are stopping, I'm going to go back to my install instructions. So let's follow through, and we're going to update Ardios CAD first. So this is going to bring up our Ardios CAD installer. So for WebCenter 18.1, it is going to require Ardios CAD Enterprise 18.0.1. So just use the one that comes with the system. If you have any prior to this, you may run into some issues if you don't upgrade it. So we're just going to let this installer do its thing. Just make sure you check your install path is in the right location. It should pick it up from where it was installed previously. Just check the installation summary and install. All right, so Ardios CAD Enterprise has finished the install. I'm going to click Finish. It's going to ask you if I want to restart the system. I'm going to say no right now, because now my next step is I'm going to upgrade the license server components as well. It's just going to give you a warning that the license server is running, and I'm going to restart. That's okay, we can stop it. It is required that you update the license server components, as we're going to install a new license key next. You may have trouble activating newer licenses on an old license server, or components of the system may not work properly, so make sure you don't forget this step. All right, so our license component finished. So I'll exit this. On my desktop, I have my Network License Manager. Otherwise, you can navigate to this through your Start menu. I like to do the quick search typically. You can also do this through your Start menu. Under Esko, you will find Network License Manager. I'm going to deactivate my licenses from here. You may have an upgrade license. If you have an upgrade license, you won't actually deactivate it. You'll just activate it right on top of it. So I'll deactivate these. It makes you save your deactivated keys to the computer somewhere. Now I'm going to activate my new set of license keys with my HTML file. Do you need an internet connection for this to activate? All right, so my new licenses are activated. I do just want to check my Network License Manager. All right, so build 18.1.0. So we're upgraded there. All right, so the next step is going to be to uninstall the previous version of WebCenter. I'm going to do that by going to our control panel. Then I will go to Programs and Features. I'm going to scroll down to WebCenter. And just a good tip here is you can see what version of WebCenter is actually installed. So I can see that right now it's 18.0.1 and it's release 27. So I'll just click uninstall. Yes, I want to install this. It's just going to give you a warning that the setup's going to update some services, and then I'll need to reboot the system. So I'll click OK, which is fine because we wanted to reboot after the Ardios CAD Enterprise and upgrading the license manager anyway. So here's my warning to restart the system. We will click yes. All right, so our system rebooted. I'm going to come in, go back to my installer. All right, so some of the instructions state to come into your Esko folder, your Web Center folder, and remove all the folders in application server and web server. I'm actually just going to leave those for now. I don't think they're going to cause any issues. It's just going to keep all of our, custom information, everything, all of our, images, status. It's going to keep all that kind of stuff intact. Let's just check our control panel quick, just to make sure that Web Center was uninstalled. We should see in our task manager that our services are no longer there. All right, so Web Center is not in the control panel applications menu, which is good. And we don't see our Web Center services as well. All right, so then we'll get in here, we'll go back to the installer and click on Install Web Center 18.1. All right, let's walk through our installer. I'm going to click Advanced on this one. Now, since this is our test server, I'm going to install both the web server and the application server at the same time, because it's all one environment. Check my install path, that's what I want it to be on, my D drive. Check my host, check my IIS website, and then since we're doing an upgrade, we have 3 different options here to redeploy web instances with customizations, redeploy web instances without customizations, and then do not redeploy these web instances. Check where your Web Center file store is located. So this is crucial that you use a network UNC path and not your traditional C drive path. Since we're doing the upgrade, it remembered where my file store is previously stored. Click on Next. My web server is also the same host name as my application server previously asked. Check your SQL server. Where is your database stored? It's going to be local on the system. My database instance name, and then I want to check to make sure that I run the database update scripts during the installation. And then what is the default SA password? So you want to type that in there as well if you've changed the default password. So yeah, it's going to give you those options. Use the standard or custom. I have not changed it, and then I'm just going to install, this is the standard default as well. So click install. Now, depending on your system, this may take a couple minutes. So right now the installer is running the database update script here. So we'll want to make sure that we get a success in this command prompt here at the bottom. If we don't, we'll have to go back into the installer and manually rerun the database script. Typically it fails when you use a SQL user with like an incorrect password or so. And it went quick, but we did see a completed successful at the very bottom of it. All right, so the installer finished. So I'm going to reboot the system one more time with the warning prompt that it has brought me. All right, so my system restarted here after the Web Center 18.1 installation. So I'll log in. to make sure I'm able to successfully log in, and I'll be able to see at the bottom my version now is 18.1 build R17. So my next step here is I'm going to upgrade the OBGE, or the automation engine, on the server. If you want to take a look at that, head on over to my other YouTube tutorial on upgrading your automation engine to the latest version. But we will go in and we'll log into the pilot, and let's upload a file just to see that my view renderings are working. So I've got the pilot open. Move the browser over. Let's go into a project, upload a file. All right, so I didn't get any errors here. That's going to be a good sign that everything is configured correctly. You can see I got my icon for checking and registering, as well as a task started up in the pilot. So this is going to start rendering the preview. Once the render is complete, we'll be able to validate that the viewer in WebCenter is also working. So in the pilot, my prepare for viewing is complete. Should be able to just refresh the browser now to see the thumbnail come back. My test PDF has been rendered. Open this in the viewer. All right, everything successfully rendered, and I was able to open the WebCenter viewer as well. So the last but not least sections of the upgrade for the install. Go back to the setup. So the last things we're going to want to do here is in the Artios CAD installer, we're going to want to update the Artios CAD defaults. So let's do that. And then it says create or manage Artios CAD defaults. Just need to put the URL of your web center in. And I'm just going to make sure I logged out of here. So now it's saying that my shared defaults already exist because I have already installed these. If you did not, you just click add new shared defaults. Then I can also do a maintenance section to add the new defaults to the shared defaults project. So we'll go through and do that. And it just did run a check and said these are already up to date. So all is good there. And then we'll want to install the new Studio Print Profile finishes, which are part of 18.1. So here I have two options I actually want to do. I'm going to install the Print Studio Profiles as well as the CADX user defaults. All right, everything's been updated there, and as well as the Studio Profiles. That is complete. Just one reminder when you're upgrading the OBGE, the automation engine, is that you don't want to install any of the CADX components. If prompted, you'll see in my other video that I may upgrade those components, but on your your web center application server, we can skip that. So that's going to conclude this upgrading automation engine 18.0.1 to the latest release for April 2019 to 18.1.